Okay, I'm going to try again. If I keep the computer from making a noise and talking to me, if I can keep the dog, Hallie, from chewing on the bone, and if I can keep both of the dogs from barking, we're going to see where we can go from here. Who was Joe Collins? That is a good question. A question that I've had time to think about now for quite a while. Joe, to me, Joe was a colleague and a good friend. A very good friend. One of the best friends I've ever had. I first met Joe in 1975 and got to know him on the very first Kansas Herpetological Society field trip that was held in Kingman County, Kansas. We hit it off, and the rest is history. We traveled around the country together. We've been to Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and just I believe every single state in the southeastern part of the United States, and pretty much so in the southwest, and even north a few times. Joe Collins was the type of person that you could trust. Joe Collins was the best researcher I ever knew. He worked to make sure that everything was accurate. When we did a project, he didn't guess. He made sure the notes were accurate. When you looked at something Joe published, you knew it was right. And Joe knew that he wasn't the only person responsible for all of this. Joe didn't mind giving credit where credit was due at all. It didn't bother Joe one bit to give credit to a 6th grade student from Caldwell, Kansas that caught the very first common king snake, speckled king snake, back then. I guess back to speckled again now. When that snake was caught and turned in as the very first record for the county, she got credit for it. As did the dozens upon dozens of other students from that county that collected animals over the years. Joe once told me that he was having trouble with some of the publishers getting them to let him put all of these names in every book under credits and under acknowledgments. There were literally pages of them. However, Joe won, and those people, regardless of their background, that helped with the projects by giving him specimens, by giving him information that helped him collect specimens and learn more about the animals, those people were always credited. Who was Joe Collins to the world? Well, to the world, Joe Collins was the herpetologist. Joe was respected by people around the world, not just here in the United States, but from people around the world. Joe is a person that will be greatly missed. There will never be another Joe Collins. What did I feel when I heard he passed away? What did I feel? When the phone rang and Suzanne informed me what had happened, I'm not sure what I felt. Disbelief, sadness, I'm really not sure. All I know is that Joe will be missed, and he'll be missed by so many. I think I've already pretty much covered what the world has lost. The world has lost one of the best herpetologists ever. And I don't know what else I can say on that. Joe will be missed. How will I live my life differently because of him as an example? Well, because of Joe as an example, I've been living my life probably differently since 1975. I've tried to do as Joe would do when it comes to research. I tried to be accurate. I continue to try to be accurate. I believe in crediting people when they help me, just like Joe credited people all those years. I believe in science and basing things on science. I think I believed that before, but after meeting Joe, it just kind of became a real part of my life. Joe Collins, Tom as he was known when I first met him, almost forgot about that. Tom Collins. But Joe Collins has shaped my life in many, many ways. He has helped me become a very different teacher than I probably would have if I had not have met him. He changed my teaching methods. Joe was the person that is probably most responsible for getting other people involved, getting my students involved, getting me to help get my students involved in projects. Had to stop for a second and stop the dog from scratching. I guess that doing an interview is not as easy as I thought. Okay, to kind of sum things up here, and I'm sure you can pull something out of all this, I hope you can anyway. Joe is the best friend that anyone could ever have. I could tell stories about him all day. I guess I'll tell a few here since I've got time to play around with the camera, and you can kind of pick something if you want. If not, that's fine. I remember one instance in New Mexico, near Clayton, New Mexico, when we were doing research back in 1999. Joe and Suzanne, Emily Moriarty, and two of my former students, Stephanie Metter and Sarah Temple. They were both high school students at that time. One afternoon when we were collecting, during the 2 to 3 hour period of time, both Joe and I came within inches of stepping on a large prairie rattlesnake, two different rattlesnakes. While Suzanne and I were photographing a large bull snake, one of the girls noticed that there was another large prairie rattlesnake corralled behind us. So that was kind of an exciting day. It kind of stands out, and I remember Joe's humor throughout all of it. Something that I think I probably remember as much as any. I'll just end with one more. Collecting in Sumner County, one of the animals that we looked for years was the milk snake. It had been collected in other counties, but we had not found them in Sumner. One year I received permission to collect on some land that looked like really good habitat. So Joe and a bunch of my students, members of the Kansas Association of Biology Teachers, Kansas Association of Teachers of Science, and a number of others were collecting. While we were collecting, turning rocks, the landowner drove up and I walked over to talk with him. The very next rock that I was going to turn, one of my 6th grade students turned and had a milk snake. I didn't realize that till I got back and she was showing it to everyone. And without thinking, when she held it up and said something to the effect of, "This was a rock you were going to turn," without thinking I said, "Oh shit, it is a milk snake." And I remember Joe looking and laughing and in his way saying, "Yeah, and now she knows how you talk and how the rest of the world talks, and how herpetologists talk." And that was one of those things that kind of sticks with you. By the way, when the girl went home that night, first thing she told her mother was that her teacher was normal. He knew how to cuss. So Thanks to Joe, lots of memories.